Kaizer Chiefs remain the only team that has not kept a clean sheet in the league, conceding 12 plus 4 more in the League Cup, and you'll be surprised. All of these goals are similar. It's literally the same goal with an exception of 2. But also, if you look closely to those goals, you'll just see that they're actually the same reason as the rest of them. Starting with the goal we conceded against AmaZulu Gallants. Before even 10 minutes, you see the same thing here that is happening, that is going to be repeating over and over again. They take a quick free kick, that is AmaZulu Gallants, and look at Yusuf Marked. He's tracking after the midfielder who has the ball, and then right there he stops. And when he does, then there's a person now who's in front of him. Alone, he can take a shot, it deflects off a player, and it's a goal. What do you call this? Well, you call this a player who's just sleeping on the job and forgetting that he's playing a game. It's not him, because you're about to see that every other player does this. Look at this. We're playing against AmaZulu, and Rashun totally goes to sleep. There's a huge gap between him and Miguel, and he doesn't go to close that gap. And guess what AmaZulu does? They play the ball around, and then they find a way to play the ball right through that space. But there's a secondary thing that happens. You look at Bradley Cross. He has the striker. He's the one who's marking him now. He forgets that he's in the game, and then the man just goes and he scores, and the score is now 3-1. We play against Mamelodi Sundowns. You're gonna see the same thing. We defend the first ball. Okay, great. We've done the great job. What about the second ball? Now, what you see there is that you have Uri Frosler, who's clearly out of position. But if there's any chance that the ball is played on the right, he should be there, right? Yeah, you think that. But he just casually jogs. He just jogs. And then he remembers, hey, I'm playing. He sprints, but then it's too late. Sundowns score. And I know this was a controversial one because it was an offside. But still, if you look at Uri Frosler on the right-hand side, we remember we're playing to the whistle, so that's also very important. He's completely left, and he's just behind, and he's not even trying to track back. And I know what I'm saying here. Even if Frosler in that case does not come across and win the ball, but just being close enough to a defender, to a striker, it could have kind of disrupted him taking a shot. But no one is here. It's just someone desperately trying to make a tackle, sleeping on a job once again. And this does not end here, because, well, this one was clearly an offside that the ref, for whatever reason, did not see, and I did not count it in the mistakes. It's one of the 3 goals that is an exception, because we're clearly robbed here. He's in front of the ball, he's in front of everyone, so an offside. I don't know how they did not see this. Maybe that's because the linesman is not even in line with the last defender, but that's a story for another day. Now, the next goal obviously is the Morris one, offside. We get robbed and we just move on. But the goal that we concede next would not be the same case, because look at Bradley Cross. There seems to be a theme here. He's the one who is clearly having a full view of what's happening in front of him. But then again, he forgets that he's playing. He's flat-footed. We concede a goal. Here, Fia Krintwari tells the wall, hey guys, I need 3 people. I need you to be close to each other. No one needs to be told that. But what do these guys do? There is a space. Do you see that space between Umashiane and Utotli? Yeah. Uchira Mandari says, thank you very much. He strikes the ball right through that gap. And then it's a goal. And people I know will blame Twari and say Twari could have done better. Sure, maybe. But if you're putting the wall as a goalkeeper, the role of the wall is to literally block the side that you won't be on, because you are trying to focus on the far post, and then the wall is supposed to be guiding your near post. But if now you have the wall in the near post and you still have to dive near post, it's just weird. So the wall lets the keeper down, because once again, they went to sleep on the job. The score is 2-0. Now, if you're enjoying the video up to this far, just make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Let's move on to the next one, against Sundowns in the League Cup. Now, this video is taken from Made in Africa, who posted these highlights. Now, we lose the ball here with Sam Gelozwane, and I know people will take this chance to crucify him as if he's the only one who's been making mistake. But anyway, and then Uplom here, he concedes a penalty. Now, If Uplom had been aware of the fact that there's someone covering him, he wouldn't have done that. So that also just means he was sleeping on the job, because when I say sleeping, I'm also referring to the fact that you must be aware of your surroundings. But it seems like our players do not do that. They are just sleeping on the job, because if you are sleeping, you won't be aware of what is happening. So here we go. The penalty goes in. We're not going to say much. Now, here's another thing. The ball is switched, right? And then the cross goes. Look at the person who is tracking. I think that is Samke Lozwane in this case. He's tracking back, and then there, he just stops. And then the person with the ball goes into that space that Samke was supposed to occupy, takes a shot, and the score is 2-0. But if you look at this again, you will see that Miguel and Frosler don't communicate. They go for the same ball in the same way, instead of someone being on the right and the other person being on the left. They go for the same ball, no awareness at all. And secondly, Miguel, instead of staying goal side, he's trying to win the ball. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. We're going to talk about this later on in the video. They try to go for the ball, and it's just an easy thing for Urenas to do, and then he takes a shot. Sundowns lead. If you look at the next goal that we considered against Sundowns, you look at our lovely defender there, Urashun Totli. Look at how many times he looks around to check who is around him. I don't see him doing it here, not here. And there, he sees, oh, there's someone behind me. Now he's reacting. And by the time he reacts, it's too late. Shalulile is ahead of him, and then he scores. And I will just clarify, for those of you who somehow don't know, this is not an offside. Why is it not an offside? Because as much as he's ahead of everyone else, he is still behind the ball. So you cannot be offside if you are behind the ball. So the cross comes to Shalulile, and then he scores, and then the score is 3-0. Now, we are going back to our friend, little Brady. So Bradley Cross here, we're going to talk about him in a moment. But the first thing that I want us to talk about is, look at this. Look at the amount of space that Uripero gets on the ball. No one is pressing him whatsoever. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. We're going to talk about that again in another goal. But where are our midfielders? Well, for starters, you have Vuplom, who is tracking back. Shame he was injured at this point. He was subbed after this. And then you have Umart on the left back, covering for Bradley Cross. But Umart could have also just closed the gap, because as you can see in this frame, Umfanalo Wagwa, if it's not totally, it's because I can't see clearly here, it's our other captain, Miguel. He's going to put pressure on the ball. Why is Mart not going to close that space? He doesn't, because he's drawn out to mark the person who's out wide. But the immediate threat is that space that Miguel just opened. Goes to sleep, and guess what? The ball is played into that space. He just stops, he just watches, and then it's a goal. But if you look here, Bradley Cross is marking Umdao. He's his man. He's not tracking him. He just tracks him here, but then he just says, forget it. He leaves him alone, and then Umdao goes and he finishes. So once again, sleeping on the job. It seems like it's a theme that we like so much as Amakhosa. Now we go back again. So if you see this game against Richards Bay, number one, as I said earlier, there is no pressure on the ball, right? You see that. There's no pressure on the ball. But secondly, look at Rashun Totli. He is once again not aware that there's someone behind him. I saw people blaming Msimango for this. But that man is coming behind Utotli, and the two people behind Utotli could also communicate with him and tell him that there's someone behind him. But also, as a defender in the box, it's your job to be aware of the surroundings. Sleeping on the job, he comes, he runs in front of him, hits the ball, it's 2-1. Now, these are the two goals that are the exception when we're playing against Richards Bay, because you see here Msimango loses an aerial duel. It happens. But then, Totally sleeps on the job because he's the last man, yet he decides to go for the ball. How do you go for the ball if you're a last man? Because no one is covering you. You can try and go and nick the ball if you know there's someone covering you. But there's no one here covering him. He goes in, the striker outsmarts him, and then he just takes a shot. And Peterson was not in goal because he was ready to defend any ball over the top. So it's a goal. Second goal of Royal AM, same thing. This time around, they are just Freaky Fridaying this thing. Totally, this time around is the one who loses the aerial duel. As I said, it happens. But then Msimango is the last man, sleeps on the job because he's not aware that he's the last man. He tries to win the ball. He doesn't. And then he concedes. Instead of just trying to say, you know what, let me stay goal side and delay this guy, or on the last minute, no, he tries to win the ball, he loses out, and then we concede a goal. And then against Polokwane City in the most recent game, we just get torn apart, but it could still be avoided because, for one, if you look at the very top there, our boy Bradley Gross, he's the one again who has the full view of what's happening in front of him. Yet he's not communicating with anyone. We could also talk about Dudley here not being aware of the person who's around him, and then the ball, when it's played, it passes everyone. Dudley, maybe it's out of reach for him, but Ukros saw this thing all the way, and this flat-footed is just watching a police score, and then the game is 1-0. And then we go back to the second goal. Mart loses the ball. It's the second type of goal where we lose the ball. The other time it was Blom and Zwane losing the ball. And then now it's a counter. It's a counter. We've committed people forward, so don't ask where the defenders are because it was some sort of a counter and we're trying to play long ball. So that's understandable. But Umteto, once again, being the last man, lacks awareness to say, I need to stay goal side. Instead, he worries about the man on the ball and he wants to go press him because Mart is there. Yeah, now if he stays goal side, he is trying to stop the cross from coming on. But now, yeah, like the goals we saw against Royal AM, he tries to go and apply the pressure and then the ball is just played across. It's a shot. The keeper saves it. But I want you to say another thing here. Someone else went to sleep. Look at Potan. He is seeing the shot being taken. He stops right there. And the person that was tracking now gets a shot on his own and then he scores. So what can we say about our team? Our players need to wake the hell up and be professional about this thing. You can't be playing a football match and be going to sleep. You're going to get ripped to shreds. That's why we're conceding so many goals. But what do you guys think? What did I miss? Let me know down in the comment section below. And I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.